All right, all right, all right. Hello, Egyptians. We are back with another episode of Egyptian Eyes After Dark, where ancient wisdom meets today. And today we have a lovely show prepared for you. And I'm just going to introduce our next guest. Her name is Dr. Tamara. It might be pronounced Tamara, but y'all know I'm a little different with names. So I think it's Tamara. So we're going to go with that today, and she's going to correct me if I'm wrong. So we're going to talk a little bit about Dr. Tamara. And don't forget, I'm your host, Destiny, with Egyptian Eyes. All right. So I'm going to just read this, y'all, because, we're about to get real sexy, Egyptians, real sexy. So here goes. Dr. Tamara is definitely not your typical doctor. She is an unapologetically spiritual, magical wild chick that embodies the spirit of a goddess and the soul of several lifetimes. She is an eccentric, eclectic medicine woman, certified sacred Ayurvedic practitioner, womb healer, mental health, and clinical sex therapist. Let's get sexy, y'all. She has a hodgepodge of over 30 years' experience helping women achieve optimal wellness and wholeness by healing ancestral trauma within the mind, body, spirit, and the soul. At the age of 13, she told her mother that she wanted to be a sex therapist. Who even knows what that is at 13? We have so much to talk about, girl. But anywho, I'll continue. She wanted to know just how stigmatizing, shameful, nasty, and dirty sexuality was. What she learned was anything and everything but that. Her passion is deeply rooted in helping folks dig deep into their shadows of their sexuality and their soul to unpack trauma, the layers of all the ish and unhealthy messages that they've received. And she helps them restore the disconnect with the body, physically, the spirit of themselves, and the soul, the sacred divinity, and the universe. Dr. Tamara's work centers on helping women facilitate, navigate, and experience the natural divine movement of the body's innate ability to heal itself. She does this by utilizing ancestral wisdom and natural and holistic indigenous healing tools and modalities that spiral deep into treating the root cause of the problem within multiple dimensions rather than just the present discomfort and presenting symptoms that they have now. Dr. Tamara is she is very unapologetic about empowering women to take charge of their lives by teaching them natural healing tools and guiding them towards more pain-free trauma, healthier lives, and she empowers them with balanced, joyful, peaceful, and abundantful lifestyles. Wow. Okay. So if you are just now joining, I see a couple of people on live. Thank y'all for tuning in. I see Angel. I see Alicia. I see Tania, Real Mike Castro, Angie Love, and some other names I can't pronounce, but shout out to the one ending in 5555. Love change. So thank y'all for coming in on the chat. Hey, Donnie, see you, love you. Y'all make sure to drop your questions. So now, if you just missed this bio that I dropped for Dr. Tamara, I got a little treat for you. See, because I was kind of spying a little bit and I went to her page, y'all, and I done seen her live in action. And we're just going to take a good look at what she be doing to help heal y'all and all of this trauma. So here we go. Let's see. Y'all, I almost ran it back because that was just such a beautiful song, such a beautiful ceremony. So, without further ado, let me bring Miss Thing Girl in herself, Dr. Tamara. Hello, lovely. Hi, I can't hear you. Give me some volume, baby. Okay. All right. Let's see. Can't hear you right now. You see, you got your volume? Say something. Check your mic. It's muted now. Still not working? All right. So we will be right back. Let me figure out what's going on with the mic. But this is Dr. Tamara, y'all. Isn't she lovely, y'all? Let's see. On my end, it looks like you're okay. What I would say is come out and come back in, okay? So I'm going to remove you. All right. So that was her herself. If you missed her bio, y'all, she decided she wanted to be a sex therapist at 13 years old. I've never heard anything like it. I am utterly profound at figuring out why this happened, how this happened, and to hear stories about what she does, how it all works. And we're having a couple of technical issues. Oh, hey, Pia, thanks for joining. And you guys, I can see everything. I've got 2 screens up. So if you have questions, hey, Alicia, feel free to ask them. We are waiting on Dr. Tamara to join us again. We were having some sound issues, so she'll be back in just a second. But in any event, I feel like this is a great time to try to cue her back up. Let's see. Let's see. All right, I see her in the backstage. We're going to bring her back. Hey, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Ooh, hey.
Hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl,
All
hey.
right. So she's here live in the flesh, y'all. This is the lovely woman you just saw doing all of that spiritual work. That was like the most beautiful ceremony I think I've ever witnessed in terms of healing. The music was right, the aesthetic, just all of the different things you were doing. You done lit some incense. I seen some clay. I heard drums, baby. I saw singing bowls. Tell me what that was. Or matter of fact, I'll let you go. Who are you after what I read?
Listen, when you were reading that bio, I'm like, who's she talking about? Is that me?
That's you. That's you, ma'am. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
this is my gift, my purpose, and my service to the world. So I am super duper duper honored to be able to just serve the world in this capacity in which I've been chosen to do so, right? And
Hmm.
just let me just first of all back up and just say thank you. Because
You're welcome.
from the moment I met you, you have been such a beautiful instrumental spirit energy in my
Oh,
life, and you have been super supportive of me since you met. Like you didn't even know what I did, and we just
no.
kind of
We
connected,
clicked. We clicked.
and we clicked. Right? It was just so easy, and
Yes.
so I just want to thank you. And I had no idea what you
You're
did
welcome.
either.
Yeah, it worked like that. So, fun fact, guys, I meet a lot of people that seek my help and services, and I just happen to be promoting. I find a lot of people that need help in bars, so that's where you can find me at. And I met her just as a casual making conversation, and it
Yeah,
turns out we was meant to
yeah,
be.
absolutely.
So tell
Yeah,
us about you. So start from wherever you feel comfortable. But I mean, my first question is this whole 13-year-old sex therapist. Baby, I didn't even know what sex was at 13.
so yeah, you know what? I was the house that all of my friends came to have conversations about sex. And I
Okay.
thought to myself, if my friends are always here, who are they talking to? They must be
Mhm.
talking to my mother and only my mother. And as I started to have conversations with them, and other girls at school, and some of my other family members, we realized that our families weren't having these conversations about sex. And so at 13, I told my mom, I was like, listen, I want to be a sex therapist. And she was like, a what? I was like, a sex therapist. And she was like, now, when you say that, what do you mean? My mom's a therapist. So she knew what I
Oh,
meant, right?
oh,
But she wanted to make sure that I knew what I meant because prior to that, um, when I was about 5, my mother had always been sick, and I never really understood why she was sick. But I knew that
mm,
she was going to doctors, and I didn't like what she was experiencing at doctors. And I remember at 5, she asked me, she was like, "You don't like what the doctor did to mommy?" And I was like, "No." And in
right.
my 5-year-old mind, I wanted to make sure another woman never experienced the kind of treatment, and mishandling that my mother experienced from her physician. And at the time, what I didn't know, but she was having female reproductive health disorders. And at the time in the
Oh,
70s, that was considered hysteria. So if you have a hysterectomy, you remove the hysteria. right? And
Oh,
and
I
so
get
from
it.
there, I ended up like she would always have conversations with me about sexuality, and not just the physicality of sexuality or intercourse, right? But from an emotional standpoint, like how do you feel about these things, and how would you feel if this happened, and just having conversations with me about hygiene in my body, because people always, when we think about sexuality, default adults always default to intercourse, and our
Mm-hmm,
sexuality is so much more than that. It's a
mm-hmm,
simple conversation about how we care for our body, our hygiene, boundaries, consent, things like that. And those are the kind of conversations that my mom had with me very early on. And so by the time I was 13, that's what I
mm-hmm,
came up with. I wanted to be that safe space that women and girls could have conversations with about sex. I didn't
mm,
see a Black woman talk about sex growing up. I saw Dr. Ruth, because
mm,
that's how old I am,
mm-hmm.
So, because in my mind, I wanted to be the Black Dr. Ruth. I wanted to, when I would read the newspaper, I would see her column, and I wanted to be the one answering the questions. And so, from that age, I did everything that I needed to do to become a sex therapist. And,
Wow.
and and even at 13, I knew I wanted to have a doctorate degree in human sexuality. Now, mind you, I didn't know if there was such a thing. I didn't learn that there was actually such a degree until
Mm-hmm.
years and years later. But yeah, I've been rocking in this field for over 35 years now.
Wow. Well, first of all, you don't even look 35 years old. So what are you eating and drinking? I need a little piece of that wellness juice. That's just so profound. And yeah, like you said, a lot of homes, we didn't talk about sex at a young age. We
Right,
didn't understand what any of it was. I mean, we learned about sex like everyone else did in sex ed in high school, right?
right.
So I'm happy that you took it upon yourself to really get into the psychology behind it and
Mhm.
wanted to do something to correct it. So a couple of questions because you do so much. Um, like what is womb healing? Like what is that part? So what did we witness? What was that beautiful thing that was happening on screen before I brought you on? Like what was she getting done? Because baby, she looked like she was in royal heaven.
so so that beautiful soul, she came to me because she was having some issues in her womb space. And so when we talk about womb space, first of all, let's demystify what the womb space is, because people think that when I talk about womb healing, I'm automatically talking about the uterus, the
That's
physical
what I
part
thought.
of the
Baby,
womb
enlighten
space.
me.
That's the physical part of the womb space, right? But our womb space is an energetical space as well as a spiritual space, right? And when we talk about the energy, it holds all of the emotions that we have as women. It holds all of the energy of our traumas. It holds the energy of our creativity. And when we talk about spirituality, it's the portal between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, because we literally usher into life, into the world, physical life. But then we also birth other things in terms of like our businesses, whatever we bring forth into this world, it comes to the space of our womb, right? And so when we talk about the womb space, we're talking about that the space of life, the space of creation, the space of our emotions, the space of our traumas, because that's where women specifically hold all of our traumas. We're talking
Mm,
about our sensuality, our sexuality. We're talking about our divine feminine energy. So when we talk about the womb space, or what can also be referred to as the sacral chakra, that's what I mean when I say womb space. The uterus is
ah,
just a small part of it. Now, when I do my womb healing, I address all of those things depending on the person, because all of my services are very individualized and tailored. So, for example, two people can come to me with the same exact issue, but the
mhm.
treatment will be definitely different depending on that person, right? And so, what you witnessed was an individual, she wanted a crystal grid healing as well
Ah,
as a yoni steam, right?
mhm.
And so, I know we have a lot of beautiful spaces out here that do yoni steaming and crystal grid healing and womb healing and things like that. But the beautiful thing about mine, I tap into the ancestral energy that you
Mm.
bring with you, right? I tap into your lineage. The work that I do helps to re-encode your DNA, your cellular structure. We
Oh,
really get
wow.
down to the root and the imprints that are going on in your lineage, right? And
Mm.
so one session will definitely bring a lot of healing. People release, they cry, they scream, they shout. A lot of times, people's ancestors have accompanied them into the space and given me messages to give to them.
Oh,
So it just
wow.
kind of all depends, you know. Some ceremonies, I call them, our healing sessions will be accompanied with drums. Some will be the singing bowl. Some will be a combination of all of those things because I'm really intuitively led with each session.
So that's what I was going to ask you when you said, sometimes two people can have a different experience because you bring their ancestors into it. So my
Hmm.
question was, well, how do you go about bringing the ancestors into it? So you use just intuitiveness, like you just get the download and the ancestors come in and say, hey, this is what's wrong. This is what we need to work on. And from a DNA perspective, this has been a common theme in this family.
Hmm.
So it is
Absolutely.
so is it safe to say you're kind of like at some point helping with generational curses or blocks or yes, okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I like to work with healing the root of the problem. And oftentimes the root of the problem didn't start with the individual. They're just presenting with symptoms and the symptoms presented so that they could address whatever's going on. And by the time we start to spiral really into the conversation and into the healing, again, like, so what will happen is that sometimes when the person comes to me, I get an immediate download. And then
Ah,
sometimes the download doesn't come until the session. I could be doing work starting one way and I get a download like, nope, we're going to stop this particular method and then we're going to move to this particular method. So it just really, really depends.
absolutely. And I get that because doing spiritual work, you just never know. You might start one way and it's something altogether different as to why they're actually there, your client. So
Hmm.
I've got a couple of questions now. Shout out to my Instagram audience. Donnie mentioned she first learned about sex through movies because family did not talk about it. Girl, that's like so many of us. And for my Instagram audience, if you send me a question or comment on Instagram, I will have to read it aloud. I can't share it on the stage like I would YouTube. So if you want me to repost your questions on camera, you need to join YouTube. But if not, I'll just read them on Instagram as they come in. So thank you for sharing that, Donnie. Just like every other household, we're used to that. I was going to ask you a question specifically about yoni steaming. And then I will get into the question from Pia, who has a question about that. So my question was, where did yoni steaming come from? And why is it so important? And how often should you do it? And then I'm going to
Hmm.
repeat his question. So can you answer those for me?
So yoni steaming is an ancient tradition, and we really don't know where it comes from. Some people like to believe it comes from ancient Asian cultures, and but then some people like to believe it comes from ancient African civilizations. And so I think
Mm,
it just kind of depends, right?
mhm,
But what we do know is that the benefits of yoni steaming are really, really, really powerful, especially if you're working with a steaming practitioner who
mhm.
knows her herbs and who understands the sacral chakra, who understands the womb space, and who understands how to blend up or curate a mix that is specific to your needs and
Okay.
understands contraindications, right, of yoni steaming.
Wow. So couple things, because first of all, let me pull out my dictionary. Contraindications. Huh?
Contraindications meaning that because for example, if a woman is has endometriosis, she can only steam a certain amount of times and only use certain herbs because if she steams longer than 15 minutes, it can increase the challenges that she's having with endometriosis. And if she's using herbs that helps to increase blood flow, that's going to be a problem for her as well because we already know that endometriosis causes a blood flow issue in the uterus.
Oh, wow. So
Right?
you can't just be popping up to these little mom and pop yoni steam shops. Okay.
Absolutely. And if she's on particular medications, certain herbs will interact negatively with certain medications. So that's
Oh,
why it's
wow.
so important to make sure you're doing your research and due diligence before you just, like the class that I went to, the person who trained me, you can't just throw some herbs in a pot and just sit
Yeah.
over it and think you're good because you may be
Yeah.
doing more harm than good.
Oh, wow. So for you guys steaming at home, you might want to consult with Dr. Tamara. Is it Tamara or Tamara? Because I'm
It's
so bad with
Tamara.
names.
It's Tamara.
Ooh, well, you was Tamara today, baby. I'm so sorry. So Tamara,
Yes.
um, Pia had a question, and this is an excellent question, Miss Pia, ma'am. It says, "Is the yoni steam for hygiene or spiritual cleansing?" I'm curious.
For both. It can be for hygiene, it can be for spiritual cleansing, it can be for emotional cleansing, it can be for ancestral clearing, it can be for a lot of different things. So, what will determine what it's for? Your intention in that moment.
Understood. Great answer. Great question. So now back to these custom mixes. So, do you offer a service where you create a custom yoni steam blend for someone to do at home, or do you suggest that they come and see you to handle everything at all?
I can do both, but what will not happen, and I am very unapologetic about this, I don't usually give general guidance. Like if someone messages me online and say, "Hey, can you, recommend or suggest a herb that I use or a blend that I use for yoni steaming?" I don't do that because as a responsible and ethical practitioner, I don't think that it is ethical for me to give guidance to someone to help them heal or address a particular issue, especially if it's a medical issue, without doing a history on that person and having some type
Mm,
of understanding because of the very things that I just said. Also, for
mhm.
example, if a woman is pregnant and she tries to do a yoni steam, especially with sage, you're going to have a miscarriage, you see. And so if you don't give me
Ooh.
all the information, even when you come to see me, it can create a liability. So that's why I
Mhm.
definitely try to stay away from giving, general guidance as to what type of herbs can I use. I'm going to take a history on you before I make a blend for you, and even before you come see me in person. And what I will say, the difference is my blends are phenomenal regardless. But if
Okay.
you come and experience an in-person session, then
Mhm.
you get all of the energy, you get all of the indigenous modalities that I bring, you get the ancestral power that
Mm.
comes with.
Wow, that just sounds so intense. And yeah, I mean, they should be knocking your doors down. You're so knowledgeable and educated. This is phenomenal. So my next question would be, so you said you've been in the game, what, like 30 something years?
Mhm.
Um, you do so much. So I guess my question was, how often should you yoni steam? But you're saying that's case by case basis, based on your history, what you want to accomplish, and what your medical history looks like. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're gonna wheel out of the yonis and we're gonna go into the help me with this word, y'all. Ayurvedic, say it.
Ayurveda.
Ayurveda. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say that word no more because I'm gonna mess that up. Okay. So tell me more about what that is. Are these the indigenous practices that you're talking about, or what is Ayurveda? Tell me what that is.
So Ayurveda is just one of the indigenous practices or healing modalities that I utilize because I have studied all over the I don't want to say the complete world, but I've done a lot of studies with a lot of different indigenous cultures. Let me say it that way.
Nice.
So the
Mm-hmm.
most recent study is Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a ancient Indian system of healing, over 5,000 years old. And it
Mm,
suggests that everything in this world, in the universe, is made up of the five elements, right? And anytime those five elements internally and externally, so in within our body and even in our environment, anytime those are out of balance, we will experience an imbalance that creates disease or dis-ease. And it also
mm,
suggests that each and every one of us is a blend uh, of these elements that makes up what's called our doshic constitution. And when someone comes to see me, I will find out what their original doshic constitution and their presenting doshic constitution. And that's how I determine the imbalance and what method of treatment in order to prescribe them, so to speak, to bring them
mm,
back into alignment. Because anytime, again,
mm.
we're out of alignment, we experience disease and or disease. And so when we talk about the five elements, I just want to make sure that we're clear. It's air, water, earth, fire, and ether.
Wow. That is just so complex, but it makes sense on so many levels, right?
Mhm.
So when you say this study helps you kind of determine different diseases or discomfort, so can you talk me through some of the issues that it would be best for women to come see you about that you can help them through per se?
So absolutely, I specialize. I can see anybody, male or female.
Okay, that's
Um,
good to know because I thought it was women only. So men, go on and get checked out now.
yeah, yeah, I can definitely do an Ayurvedic consultation and come up with a plan, because the one thing about also Ayurveda is just we don't just look at your physical health. We look at your lifestyle. We look at your environment. We look at your nutrition. We look at, are you breathing properly? Are you sleeping properly? Like, it's a very comprehensive, holistic approach to living and healing. And that's why I love Ayurveda so much. And then what I do is I integrate things into your life that are realistic and practical for you. So, for
Mm,
example, if you say that I'm not ready to stop eating X, Y, and Z, so then I'll create a plan that doesn't eliminate X, Y, and Z, but incorporates it in your life in a way that's manageable for you, if that makes
mm,
sense.
it
And
does.
so, but my specialty, as you asked me, is women. And so if a woman comes to me, she would be coming to me with any reproductive health condition for sure: endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, infertility, um, kissing ovaries, anything, fibroid tumors, anything like that. Also, any other condition that a woman has, whether it's hypertension, whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes, specializing in menopause as well
Mm,
now, because that's the
wow.
age that I'm in right now.
What, you are lying to me. Stop lying to me. You look
Ma'am,
like you could be my sister.
ma'am, I wish I was. Listen, I'm so hot right now, and don't be surprised if you see me start dripping sweat because I'm over here flashing. But
I can't
yeah, so
believe that.
yeah, any issue that a woman is experiencing health wise, emotionally, mentally, I can address as well. Because when we even talk about mental health, there's a way that we treat mental health in Ayurveda.
Hmm.
So, but then, like, keep in mind, so I have the Ayurveda side, but then I bring in all of my other indigenous healing modalities as well.
I'm just blown away. This just gets more and more tantalizing as we go. Wow. So you are basically like, I mean, well, you are literally a doctor, Dr. Tamara. So
Yes.
it's good to know all of the different healing modalities and ailments that you can help heal. I have some questions for you, but on this topic, I want to know, can you think of any testimonials or experiences anonymously that you want to share about someone who experienced a shift or a healing from services you offer?
Oh, let me
That's
be.
safe to share because I know this is real personal and private.
Um, I'm trying to think, because there's so many amazing, beautiful souls that I've helped. And listen, so if there are definitely plenty of testimonies on my website for sure.
Okay, so I
I'm
can
trying
have
to think
people go
of,
look there.
yeah, yeah, just look on my website. There's plenty of testimonies on my website, because I can't really think of any super phenomenal one off the top of my head. Um,
Because you just do so much. I was just curious. So you guys check out her website, read the testimonial. She's been in the game for 30 something years. You've heard all of the different things she can do with Ayurveda. I have another question from Pia. It says, what techniques or rituals can I incorporate into my daily life to align my sexual energy with my spiritual growth? Another amazing question.
you know what, Pia? Thank you for that question. What I will say, I'm going to direct you specifically to my website. Wait a minute.
I'm going to drop it at the bottom. Don't worry, I got it up here. I'm going to drop the banner.
But I'm trying to see if it's on my website.
Uh-oh.
Pia, if you can reach out to me, I have an amazing article that I wrote several years ago. It's called "Cleansing Your Sexual Energy," right? And it
Mhm.
walks you through the importance of cleansing, why we need to first of all cleanse our sexual energy. Um, but then it also talks about how to cleanse your sexual energy in multiple dimensions. Because because I need to say this, because what people don't realize is that if you don't heal whatever it is you're going through mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, ancestrally, on multiple dimensions, then you run the cycle. You stay stuck.
Mhm. Mhm.
And people don't understand. So you might address whatever you're going through in this dimension, and you might be like, oh, okay, I healed it. But then it pops up again and you start to repeat the cycle. It's because you didn't heal whatever you was going through in the other dimensions, all the way down to the root. And a lot of people don't understand the anatomy of healing. And so all that to say that this article talks about how to cleanse your sexual energy and bring it into alignment in all those multiple dimensions. And I can make sure if you inbox me on Instagram at Dr. Tamara Rose, all one word, I'll make sure it is Dr. Tamara Rose on Instagram. I'll make sure, just tell me you want the sexual energy cleanse article, and I'll make sure that you get it. I'll email you the link.
And so a couple of questions on that. One being, in this article, are you sharing tips on what they can do at home? Of course, the best answer to this, I would think, is to go see her and get a customized session, because I would think at first glance, what you need to do and what the next person needs to do is probably going to be different based on
Mm-hmm.
how much trauma and what has been going on in multi dimensions. I
Mm-hmm.
have someone named LaShawn. I hope I'm saying that right. LaShawn wants to know the website. Guys, I'm running her website information if you can't see it. I'm running her website information at the bottom of the screen. Let me run it. And Dr. Tamara, I don't know if you can actually see the banners and stuff I'm putting up. But I have your website running at the bottom of the screen. You can't see it. Okay. Well, when you go back and watch this, you'll see, girl, I got it popping. It's stuff coming out of everywhere with all your information. Okay. So don't worry. I got you. So, and also say your Instagram for us one more time, just so that people can catch it.
Absolutely. The Instagram, actually on TikTok as well as Instagram, is DrTamara Rose. So Dr. Tamara Rose on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok,
Okay.
because those are the
Perfect.
active platforms I'm on. Mhm.
Perfect. So now my next question, because y'all know I got all the questions. You mentioned something about healing in this reality or this dimension and other dimensions. For my audience that is not as woke yet, but on their way, can you walk me through what multi dimensions are at a basic level, or what you mean by that, in case someone doesn't really comprehend?
Okay, so I'm glad that you asked that for clarity. So when I'm talking about multiple dimensions, I'm talking about in this physical earthly dimension, but also when we talk about our ancestors, when we talk about our spiritual dimension, we talk about our energetical dimensions. Those are the main dimensions that I'm talking about, right? So when we work together, we spiral really deep into the root of your trauma, because people sometimes don't understand how trauma works in the brain. Trauma is fragmented to keep us protected and to keep us safe. That's what our brain does when we have a trauma. And
Mhm.
oftentimes that's why we can't remember sometimes what happened, but something will trigger us, and we might be like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was 5 years old that X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z happened, right? That's
Yep.
because when you were five, if you weren't able to process the trauma, but now you may be 25 and your mind is able to kind of grasp what happens, and it's time for you to start healing that trauma because it's being stored in your body. Because our body is really just a record of memories of things that's happened in our past, whether they're
Mhm.
emotions or whether they're experiences. And so we have to kind of shift that energy in our body, in our mind, in our spirit, in our soul,
Mhm.
and throughout our lineage, in order to be able to really heal the trauma, so that we
Wow.
don't repeat these cycles. Because what happens is that's how things get passed down epigenetically as
Mhm.
well as ancestrally, and they turn up, and that's what we end up calling like intergenerational cycles or intergenerational patterns. And so I work with individuals to help heal. So when they work with me, they heal their lineage themselves
Mhm.
as well as their legacy, if that makes sense.
It does. It's so intriguing to know that you can touch on that many levels and heal all of those ailments and other dimensions and generational curses. Like, I'm blown away. So we touched a little bit on Ayurvedic. Hopefully I said that right. I said I
Hmm.
wasn't gonna say that word no more.
But you said it, and you said it correctly.
Maybe I'm saying it. So now let's touch a little bit on the sex therapy. So when you say sex therapist, um, are you incorporating that piece of it with your healing modalities, or do people really just come to you and say, "Hey, we got issues in the bedroom. How do we fix it?"
So it's both, right? So people will come to me for the physical piece of having the inability to experience an orgasm. And so we may work on the Ayurvedic side of that, the womb healing side of that, or sometimes people come to me for talk therapy, right? Or mental health therapy, because I am
Mm,
a mental health therapist as well.
okay. I didn't
Yes.
know that. Okay.
Yeah, my graduate degree is in mental health therapy. And so yeah, so people come to me for talk therapists, and I have quite a few clients who presented as sex therapy clients. But people have to understand is that when someone presents for sex therapy, it's really only the presenting issue. When we really start to spiral in deep with conversation to see what's going on, it's usually something else that really
Mm.
got them to that space. But because they hadn't dealt with it any other way, it just manifested itself sexually. There are very few true
Oh.
sex therapy issues. Very few.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
because something has to get us to a space where we're going to heal. Something has
Mhm.
to bring us to a place where we're going to address what is really creating the disease and dis-ease in our body. And usually that's why we get sick physically. But before those physical symptoms ever present, there was something that went ignored for so long. Because most of us are going to ignore a lot of things, especially when you think of women of color. We're going to
Mhm.
ignore a whole bunch of stuff until we're laid out sick somewhere. And
Which is
that's
not
usually
good.
when we begin to start to address a lot of the things that's going on. So at the root of sex therapy, there is some underlying trauma. And so again, talk therapy can help support that.
Wow, very informational. So that's something I would have never thought that the sex therapy or the issues that they think they have, like couples. I imagine couples come and see you.
Mhm.
So you mean when they come see you, you often figure out it's some trauma that they have that's unhealed and you need to do other work to fix that issue.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so out of all of the healing modalities that you offer, what would you say is most needed at this day and age with what we're going through with the planetary shifts and just the information age that we're in? Are you seeing a heightened area of issues that your practices warrant? Anything like that?
Yes, I am seeing a lot of people who just want to, they come to me, I just want to heal. Like, I think so many people, I think the way that this world, this environment, be it the political climate, the energetical climate, like you said, the planetary shifts, just the way the world is going, people are coming a lot for energy work. Right. And
Mhm.
so that may show up as Reiki, it may show up as vibroacoustic therapy, it may show up as sound healing in some capacity. And so again, it may show up as doing some abdominal clay wrap. Like, so again, all of these modalities I'm utilizing to work with energy and shift energy and help to re-encode cellular structures and DNA, because every 7 years, our body is changing over to a new body. So there's no reason why we should have any illness in our body, period. Right. Um,
Mm.
so, but the main thing that I'm seeing is a lot of people wanting to shift their energy because they cannot function or find balance because of everything that's going on around them, as well as inside of them, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. And so, with all of that being said, it sounds like you pretty much make a protocol for each client. So they basically come see you for a physical of some sort. I guess it's a body scan and energetic tap in.
Mhm.
And from that, you deduce what's necessary to heal. So it's not like, hey girl, I want to call you for a clay wrap. I get to
Mhm.
you and you may be like, no, sis, you need X, Y, and Z. Is that how it works?
Yes, sometimes it can work like that, and sometimes it just is simply, "Hey, girl, can I get a clay wrap?" And it's like, "Okay," because I'm
Okay.
not led in that moment to do anything
Oh,
differently. But once
understood.
they get there and we kind of talk, it may be like you may want to consider coming back for X, Y, and Z. Because everybody who comes to me, they will leave with a recommendation for follow up.
Okay, good to
Yeah.
know. So I have a
Hmm.
question from the audience. This is from Evan Staff 007. It says, any advice around practicing sexual transmutation, avoiding physical climax, and redirecting that energy to increase awareness, focus, ECT? Do you
Are
want
we
me to read
talking?
that again? That was a lot.
Ye- yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to try to get through this again. It says, any advice around practicing sexual transmutation, avoiding physical climax, and
Mhm.
redirecting that energy to increase awareness, focus, etc. Um, this kind of,
So
are you talking about semen retention? Is that what he means? Sorry, I don't know
that's
if
what
that's
it sounds
a
like. Yeah,
YouTube
that's
saying say.
Yeah, that's kind of like what it sounds like talking about practicing semen retention. So if we can get clarity on that and like
Oh,
what
that was
specific.
Donnie. It can't be because that's a girl. So Donnie, run us through. Are you referring to women or men with your question? So she wants to know, like, what do you mean specifically when you say sexual transmutation, avoiding physical climax and redirecting that energy to increase awareness and focus?
So is it possible that she could mean utilizing orgasm to transmute energy and shift the energy and
Yeah,
manifest?
because yeah, I think so. And she said it's for both genders. I just put that up on the screen. So I think so, because I feel like if men can do that for that reason, women should or could too. So I guess she's saying, what advice do you have on that? And she said, yes, that's what she means.
Um, well, I guess it would determine, I mean, depend upon what her intentions are in terms of what she wanted to manifest. Like I'm not quite what I mean when she asked what advice do I have on that, like should someone do it or should they not do it, what the benefits of it are? Like I'm not
I
quite
think
sure where we're going with it.
I think either one of those is good. She said, yeah, what she said. Exactly. So, for instance, she's asking, is there any advice on it? Like, does that increase awareness or focus? Should you practice avoiding a climax, for spiritual growth or more focused purpose? Like, is there any truth to doing that for either
There's
gender?
Yeah, there absolutely is truth to doing that because, again, keep in mind, anytime we have sex, especially as the receiving partner, we are taking in the energy, the spirits, the entities, the souls, anything that is attached to that partner and that partners, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole lot of shit that we taking inside, right, as
True.
a
Mhm.
receiving partner. And so anytime we can cleanse ourselves from that energy and utilize that orgasmic energy because the height of orgasm is like one of the most magical times and you can transmute that energy or use that energy to shift it into whatever it is you want to manifest. And so there's absolutely some benefits into it. Now, will it happen the first time? Maybe, maybe not. But that but that doesn't mean that it's not going to work if it doesn't happen the first time. Usually with more focus, more practice, and more consistency, right?
Mhm.
You're able to learn how your body shifts and moves through the human sexual response cycle, and you're able to capture that height of that energy at the right time to be able to help it shift, if that makes sense.
Mhm. It does. And so she also wanted to know, are there benefits to not practicing any self-pleasure? Like just not reaching the climax. Like is that good or bad?
I think it's an individual thing because I don't even know what good and bad is, right? And I
Mhm.
try to stay away from good and bad because what's good for one person may not be good for another person. So I think that's a really individual decision, right?
Okay.
What would be your intention behind it? What would be your goal that you're trying to accomplish by not climaxing, like, or
Mhm.
by climax? And I think that's a really kind of an individual thing in the
Okay.
individual, way that person needs to look at it to determine whether it's good or bad for them.
So on that same topic, and thank you for answering that. She said that
Mm-hmm.
answers her question and it does make
Mm-hmm.
sense. So thank you
Okay.
for your feedback on that. But on that same topic, my question would be, in knowing how powerful sex is and how you can manifest with it, if that is your intention,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that it's more powerful to accomplish that if your partner is also aware that that is what you're doing?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Because if you two together are in alignment, it's going to make them, because how manifestation works, and I know that you know this, is that when you attach to a cloud of individuals, so to speak, or energy, so to speak, that is in alignment with what you're doing, it makes the energy vibration, the frequency even more powerful.
Agreed.
So that's why people like to talk about, I want to align with like-minded individuals because it increases the energy. So anytime you have your partner practicing and tapping into and
Mm-hmm.
sharing the frequency is going to be more powerful. But what I will say is something that you just said that kind of jogged my memory is that
Mm-hmm.
we have to be mindful of just what you said, how powerful sex is, even when we
That.
don't really know it. it still is
Yeah,
powerful.
it
Um,
is.
it's a responsibility too. And so when we're out here engaging in sex, not just physically, but energetically too, even when we don't know it. So
Mhm.
anytime that we're being sexual, we just need to be mindful of the responsibility and the power of it, especially when you know the power of it. So back to Pia's point, when you know the power of it, that you bring to the
Of the
bed or to
peep.
the wherever you having sex, you know, you are responsible because that other person may not be as aware, you know,
Yeah,
and you don't know what you may end up with, so to speak, if that makes sense.
it does. So one thing we haven't touched on is I know you offer so many services. What
Mhm.
does so for that beautiful ceremony I saw? I know she did a yoni steam and a crystal grid healing. Do you have some sort of package that you would recommend, kind of like a cure-all, if that's a safe word to use? Just something that people would really see a lot of value in. Like what is the price points for your services? Or
So yeah, I'm sorry.
mhm. No, that's it.
I think the if someone wants to come and start a service, the basic service I would say there's two or three. I would recommend three off the top. Either a Reiki session or energy healing session to just kind of cleanse and clear your energy to kind of level back out your playing field, or a yoni steam, or vibroacoustic therapy, which is utilizing vibration and sound to help heal the body. And so one of those three, or a combination of all of those, or two of those, would definitely be one of the, if somebody just wanted to come in and it was like, I don't want to do a whole consultation, I don't want a long plan at this moment, I just want something right now. Those are
Mhm.
the top three services that I would recommend. And the price points, it just depends on the service. I think like the Yonis, I don't even want to say because I don't want to, but
I
they're
understand.
reasonable. They're
Okay.
reasonable. And what I will say, it's an investment in yourself. Think of it
Understood.
that way. It's an investment in yourself, it's an investment in your life, it's an investment in your lineage. And that's priceless.
It sure is priceless. What they say, treat yourself, don't cheat yourself, people. Okay.
Absolutely.
So for prices and her full list of services, you can check out her website. I am going
Yes.
to run that again at the bottom of the screen. You guys, we are still taking your questions. I want to shout out some of the people watching live. I've got Simetria963. I've got Christian Renee says. I've got 35 Me, Lumina Lofts, Fawn. Okay, okay, girl. LaShawn, thank y'all for hanging out with me. Do y'all have any questions for the lovely Dr. Tamara? Feel free to drop them in. We've got a couple more minutes on this live. Dr. Tamara, can you tell me from your perspective, um, what is the best feeling for you about what it is you do?
Um, the best feeling about what it is that I do is that I get to do not only what I was chosen, initiated, created to do. I
Mhm,
love to do, and I get to do it every day. I get to serve beautiful souls every single day and help them change their lives, give them the tools and the resources necessary to change their life, and to see someone walk away feeling more empowered, or to get a review that their encounter with me changed their life or helped to change their perspective is such an awe-inspiring feeling. I don't really even know if
mhm.
there's words, for
I
that.
mean, that was
It's
a word.
it's so humbling, and I'm so
Mhm,
grateful. Like, I don't take what I do for granted. I don't take it lightly. I understand the responsibility when someone allows you to tap into their energetical field, their
mhm.
spiritual field. That's a responsibility that I don't take for granted. And I'm very humbled by that and very grateful for that. And that's what I love most about it.
Very well said. I mean, that
Thank
was
you.
so humble and beautiful. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that. My next question would be, because you mentioned something about a clay wrap.
Mhm.
So walk me through what that is and why that's needed.
A Mayan abdominal clay wrap. I learned that from some actual elders in the Mayan community in Tulum. And so it is a clay wrap, and it's a technique in which you put clay onto the womb space, this area here,
Hmm.
and it helps to draw out any toxins that are in the womb space.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, girl, I've been to Tulum. They didn't teach me that. How you get so lucky? That's not fair.
Yes, yes. I learned it a couple of different times. The first time I went to a drumming retreat, 7 days in the jungle. When I say in the jungle, I'm not talking
Mm,
about like in a cute little boutique hotel. I'm talking about 22 miles in the jungle. There was nothing around me but jungle on each side, to the point that where we stayed, the generators turned off at like 7 o'clock. Like, it was real deal jungle.
mm.
It was a drumming retreat and healing ceremony, and that's where I was able to learn that particular technique, or parts of that particular technique.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
So, I know you said you wanted to become a sex therapist at 13.
Hmm.
So, at which point of your journey did you decide you needed to focus more so on healing? And then my second question to that would be, how does someone know they need your services? Like, what's a telltale sign that we need to call Miss Dr. Tamara?
Okay, so my journey has been a beautiful one of knowing that's where I needed to be at the time. So when I first started my work, and I was all about pleasure. Black women, we deserve pleasure, because after all, we know the only organ in the human body that is for pleasure is the clitoris, and of course, women have the
Mhm,
clitoris, so of course we deserve to have pleasure. So that was my very first journey, and it has evolved, and my message and my methods have evolved as I have evolved, right? And
mhm,
so I've always had this gift of sexuality, and saying things that I didn't really know that I was saying. I knew what I was saying, but I didn't know how deep they were, so to speak,
mhm,
because spirit, God, whatever you call them, just the way they gifted me with this gift of sexuality has just been so powerful. But so it started out with pleasure, and then it evolved to more of the, let's talk about these dimensions of sexuality. Let's move from pleasure. Let's talk about emotion. Let's talk about mental. And then it changed to, let's talk about energetical. Let's incorporate spiritual. Let's incorporate ancestral. And then one day, spirit told me, when we're talking about this thing called life, we're talking about the womb space, we're talking about creation, we're talking about birth. Now we have to look at the womb space as the seat of life, right? And so when we talk about that, now we have to heal the womb space, because we can't bring forth healthy life into this world with a
mhm,
rotten womb space, with a traumatic womb space. And most of us have trauma. And when I talk about trauma, I'm not talking about trauma from a standpoint of something very huge and violent or anything like that. Anything that we've suffered is a trauma. Anything that's impacted our normal, natural functioning, whatever that is for you, is a trauma that we must heal, that's stored in our
mhm.
body, that's creating disease and disease. And so that's kind of how I shifted more into the womb space work. Because for me, out of all the chakras, the womb space is the most important, or the sacral chakra is the most important, because that is the seat of life.
Wow. Very detailed. Makes a whole lot of sense to me. And so, how does a client or a potential client know they should come and see you? Like, what are the telltale signs that go, maybe I need to get this womb healed? Like, how
Mhm.
would we know?
So anyone who is wanting to tap into more of their divine feminine energy, or what folks are calling their soft girl era now, anybody who's experiencing any physical female reproductive health issues, anyone who's wanting to heal any type of trauma, anyone who's feeling lost or lacking self-esteem and confidence, anyone who's just questioning kind of like where they are in life. Are really good indicators that, you know what, I may need to kind of tap into this womb energy and see what's going on. Or if you're feeling yourself stuck in cycles and you can't move forward, those are some telltale signs of saying, you know what, maybe I do need to look at this womb space a little bit differently, because that's our seat of power, period.
Understood. And so, if we go to your website, what is it that we should click on for that specifically for womb healing? Is there something mentioned? What's it called? Or is there a consultation? Like,
Mhm.
what's the process?
So if you want just specific womb healing, there's a tab that should be at the top of the page that says womb healing. And then there's one, I think, that says consultation, but only if you want to do an Ayurvedic consultation,
Hmm.
then that you will click on that. But if you want to do the womb healing, then there's a tab that should say womb healing.
Okay. And do you find that womb healing is It's not just a one and done. Is it something that is should be conducted over multiple sessions? Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I think that it should be done at least once a month. Um,
Oh, wow. I
by
would have
a
never.
professional. Yes, by a professional. And then maybe if you want to do some DIY stuff at home, like maybe your yoni steam at home, then I would give guidance on how to do that at home in between sessions. But I would definitely not stretch it out longer than 2 months, because again, the thing about it is people think that things don't work because there's no consistency. And that's anything. That's your relationship, that's your job. If
Yeah.
there's no consistency in how you're showing up and what you're doing, you're not going to heal. So that's why I say it should be a consistent thing once a month. And then, depending upon what type of issue or challenge or thing we're trying to work through and address, it may need to be weekly or even bi weekly.
Wow. So that's news to me. I would have never known that you should get this service monthly. And would you
Mhm.
say this is because of the menstruals, or just in general, that's where we just carry a lot of trauma as days go on?
I would just say period in general, because that's where women hold all of our trauma. That's why we have heavy cycles. That's why we have the fibroids. That's why we can't bring forth life. We can't birth that business into this world. That's why we're having a creative block. That's why our relationships aren't going well. That's why we have worries. That's why we have anxiety. That's why we're overthinking. That's why we're in our
Mhm.
masculine energy. All of these things are held right within our womb space.
Gotcha. So would you care to share how much a womb space healing is for those listening, or is that case by case basis pretty much?
It depends on the particular service. Like if you want a yoni steam, if you want an abdominal clay wrap, and if you want to add on things to it. But I don't even. I know that sounds so terrible. Y'all forgive
It
me.
really doesn't.
Grant me grace. But it's all different price points depending on what service you want. But I want to say, mate. No, I'm not gonna want to say nothing. Mm-mm.
It's
It's on the
fine.
website.
And that's good to point out. The reason why I'm asking is because I've been known to, my guests, when y'all come on to start talking about these miraculous things that y'all do, my audience books. So check her website out.
Yes, please check the
You've
website.
heard the story. You get the gist of what she's explaining to you. You can tell she's very educated, very experienced, and she is passionate about what she does. And so anytime you are passionate about what you're doing, and you've taken the time to study, know it, nurture it, it does nothing but flourish, and you can feel the love and the transferring energy from those hands onto your body. So y'all need to call Dr. Tamara and get that healing tomorrow. Okay.
I love it. Yes.
so, so her website is at the bottom of the link. I want to give a shout out to King Simon. He is in the building. If y'all are not familiar with him, he has some great books on numerology, and he does readings, and he's a great speaker. He's huge in the Black conscious community. So thank you for joining and your continued support, King Simon. But yes, I don't see any questions in the chat. Wait a minute. I got a comment. Who is it? I got a comment. Oh, I got a question. Here we go. It says, "Oh, wow, this is very eye opening. I've never done a womb cleaning and sounds like I'm long overdue." So come through, Donnie. Get your womb cleaned by Dr. Tamara. She has more information on her website, and y'all see it at the bottom. It says, let me wait for it. Isn't it holistically her, or let me see,
That's it.
W? Okay, so it's www.holisticallyher.com. Everything spelled the regular way, not the ghetto way. Okay, so check that out. And we are at time. I want to thank my lovely, beautiful guest, Dr. Tamara, for all of your wisdom and experience in sharing your story. And we appreciate you. And we will see more of you, because I have so much more to ask about the other things you offer. So yeah, guys, anything you want to say to the audience, Dr. Tamara?
I just want to say thank you for first of all, thank you to you, Destiny, for inviting me to share. Much gratitude. I love you so deeply, and
Oh,
so
thank you for
dearly. And I just want to say thank y'all for showing up and allowing me to share and just allowing me to serve. This is what I do. If somebody offered me millions of dollars to do anything else, I wouldn't, because I love this and this is who I am. And so I just want to say thank you for spending this time with me, because you could have been doing anything else, but I'm very honored, and I'm just so grateful. So thank you.
I am very grateful too, girl, and I would want to be nowhere but here and with my lovely Egyptian tribe hanging out with us and asking questions.
Yes.
Thank y'all for all your support. And thank you again, Dr. Tamara. If you haven't followed her website, it's still panning at the bottom of the screen. Check her out. Follow her on IG and all of that stuff. It is a good time to mention to you guys, we are running the Big Psychic Fair back on the 21st and 22nd. And it's a 2-day thing this time. So it's 11 to 6. Y'all will get emails and texts from us. Dr. Tamara, tell me this though. Where can they come and see you at? Because you'll be everywhere. So your services, are they mobile? Do they come to see you in Atlanta? Like, how does it work? What you got?
I have a private suite that people can book and come to me. And then they can also come to me at Egyptian Eyes.
Can. Okay. So y'all can check her out in store as well. If you ever want to book a session with her and you're local to the store in Smyrna, for those of you who are in anywhere in Georgia, the address is on Google, but it's 2585 Spring Road Southeast, Smyrna, Georgia. Y'all can actually call the store and ask about services if you don't follow the website, and she can take you right here at the home base. All right.
That's
So we
right.
just want to thank everybody for joining, all of your questions, all of your comments, and you guys be blessed. And Pia says, thank you for your gifts. And Donnie said, thank you both. Thank y'all so much. And y'all have a good night. Bye.